Aloha, y'all. I am Daniel Aaron, and this is the Art of Vibrant Living show. I am excited to be with you. I'm really excited for our guest today. We've got an amazing show coming up. I am the author of The Art of Spiritual Leadership, 40 Laws to Transform Your Life and the World. And what we do here on this show is I get to draw from the hearts and minds of phenomenal people who share with you the art of vibrant living. My advice to you, my encouragement is, yes, do be entertained. More importantly, though, apply what you're learning. Monique has some amazing gifts to share with us today. So tune in and do what she invites you into. Monique McDonald is known as the Magnetic Voice Mentor. She's a Grammy-nominated opera singer turned guide for soul-led entrepreneurs. She helps people unlock the power of their voice to heal, lead, and attract clients through presence, truth, and embodied expression. I am so psyched that you are here with us today. Monique, thank you.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Daniel. What a pleasure to meet you and be here with this amazing show and your listeners here today.
Yeah, oh, well, that's awesome. I love it. So, opera singer, Grammy-nominated opera singer. What, just before we get into what you're up to now, which I'm so excited about because our audience is going to eat this up. There's so much to learn in this realm. What brought you to being an opera singer?
Well, many roads that led me far, far away from it. My mother was a classically trained singer and pianist. And she was an amazing dramatic soprano. So for the first part of my life, I did almost everything not to be an opera singer because I thought she was so amazing. I felt that I couldn't live up to how amazing she was, even though I had been singing since I was a little girl. So I sang pop and jazz. And, I went to college in France because I wanted to be an ambassador. I had the ear for the music of language. And so I learned French and I became fluent in French because I wanted to work at the UN. And then someone found me and invited me to sing at the American Cathedral in Paris. It was trial by jury, Gilbert and Sullivan, and I was the plaintiff. And let's see, I was probably about 20 by this time, 22. And they said, "You have a lot of talent, my friend." And so I decided to go and study with the best voice teacher I knew, which was my mother, Betty McDonald. And
Wow.
that's how I got started.
Okay. Well, I thought you were going to say something different, that you resisted the path because you felt like it was what your mother wanted you to do. Um,
Yeah, she was not your imaginings of a stage mother. She was the exact opposite of that. She said, "Is there anything else you'd like to do?" Because she knew the path was not an easy one. It sounds very glamorous, but when your voice is your instrument, you basically have to give up a lot of things and you train as an athlete would train. So it there were moments that were very glamorous, and then there were moments of very, very hard work.
yeah, and way more moments of very hard work than glamorous. I
That's
started
right.
out college as a music major. I thought I was going to be a symphony musician until I
Wow.
realized in college I realized I don't have anywhere near the discipline required for me to practice sufficiently to be able to play on those levels. So I gave it up. So I have so much respect for the grit that's required to be a professional musician of any sort, and it's so far from what people imagine. So thank you for your courage and discipline.
Wow, thank you, Daniel. And what was your instrument? What were you interested in playing?
My main instrument was bass clarinet.
What?
Yeah,
That
you
is
know it.
so cool. So it is a wind instrument, as you know very well, and so am I. I'm a
True.
wind instrument as well. Speakers and singers are wind instruments.
Absolutely. And years later, excuse me, when I got into yoga, I discovered the harmonium, which I'm sure you know this instrument. And it, like you, breathes. And it's one of the only instruments that has its own mechanism for breath, which is phenomenal. So I'm sure as we get into learning from you some practical stuff today, breath will be part of that. But let's before we get to that, here you are as an opera singer living a occasionally glamorous and most of the time hard-working life as a professional opera singer. What brought you to shift gears to doing what you're doing now?
Whew, that's a rough one. So I was working in Europe, and I got a phone call. I had been at this point traveling a lot and working in most of the European countries, and was starting to get some momentum going in my career, and had already made my Carnegie Hall debut, and been working at Lincoln Center. And I got the call that my mom had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and had been given 6 months to live.
Mm,
And that was about 10 years ago. And she was not only my mother, she was my voice teacher, my best friend, my mentor. I'm an only child. So basically, it was as though my whole world had turned upside down. And I was currently on a project, and I finished the contract,
mm,
and that project was actually in Russia. And I came back home and took care of mom and spent the last 6 months of her life with her.
mm.
I canceled all my contracts for that year. And yeah, it was really rough, Daniel. It was as though something inside me had become silent, and I didn't want to sing anymore. I didn't want to do it without her. And it it wasn't just grief, although it was also grief, but it was as though my voice, my truth, the essence of who I knew myself to be was no longer. I had been singing with my mother since I could talk. And along with her absence, I became silent as far as singing goes. And it took quite a few years to sort of get my balance back. And then one day I was partaking of my drug of choice to get through the day, which was Netflix. And I came across Tony Robbins' documentary, I'm Not Your Guru. And two things happened to me that day. The first was that I found out that Tony Robbins had a training center where he trained coaches in his particular modality of healing and coaching, which is called strategic intervention. And I got inspired, and I signed up right away because I knew that I had to do something because I wasn't going to be singing anymore. And then the second thing that happened when I saw that documentary was Tony Robbins was having a lot of vocal issues.
Hmm.
And his vocal cords had become so paper thin. It was very difficult for him to speak. And what an amazing message this man has for the world, right? So I watched as he was doing vocal exercises, and I thought to myself, okay, those are good, but I'm an opera singer trained to sing in theaters that seat 1,000 people or more with no microphone. I know how the voice works. I know how to take care of the voice. I know how to express through the voice. What if I get to the next Tony Robbins? What if I get to the next person with a huge message for the world and I pour into them every single thing that I know about the voice and how to take care of it, about presence and how to be present on stage, and how to deliver a message that goes straight to the heart. And Daniel, that got me out of bed, out of grief, and into action. And the Magnetic Voice Group was born. And that started to happen right before COVID, interestingly enough. So my business was born in a pandemic, which, everybody went online. And that made it possible for me to work with people all over the globe.
Hmm.
And that's how my business was born.
Wow. Okay. Thank you. And gosh, I can only imagine how intense and challenging it was to lose your mom like that, how close the two of you were. And so understandable getting sidelined the way you did. And yet, what a beautiful way to come out of that by seeing, hey, I can make an impact on the messengers, right?
Yes.
I immediately flashed on, what was that movie, The King's Speech? I'm sure you know, right?
That's right. Yes.
And how big a difference it is. People that are called to speak, who have something to share that can revolutionize and uplift the world, if they don't know how to take care of that tool. And I mean, how many of us grew up learning how to take care of this apparatus? Not very many. So I love that. And I also did the training with Tony and Chloe
Oh, you
Mondanes.
did.
That was one of my first trainings in the coaching realm and completely loved it.
Oh,
So,
me too.
yeah, beautiful. Okay. Now, it's I know a little bit about this world of high level voice training and coaching for speakers. We spoke earlier about Bo Eason, and there's Roger Love, who was working with Tony Robbins. What are you doing now in your programs? Like, is it only for people that are at the Tony Robbins level, or is it something that other people can benefit? What's it look like now?
So now I'm working with speakers who have had some success speaking, but they aren't yet where they want to be. And what I help them with is I help them become world class speakers
Hmm.
so that their voice is a magnetic instrument,
Hmm.
so that they are in alignment. Because what I find is that most speakers spend most of their time on what they're going to say, and they don't realize the power and magnetism that lies within their voice when it is aligned to who they are, whose they are,
Hmm.
and the natural law of vibration. And what happens is when that starts to all come together and align, when your voice, which is a reflection of your life experience, meets your presence, which is your ability to be uniquely you, no matter who's looking, and a message that the whole world needs to hear gets aligned, something very magical happens. And you become very compelling, and people can't wait to see what you're going to say next and what you're
Mm.
going to do next. And that's what I help people do because, I bet you know exactly what I mean by this, Daniel. A lot of times speakers, when they're just starting out, or if things aren't working the way they want them to work in their speaking career, they start to lose confidence and they
Mm.
start to doubt themselves. And that shows up. The microphone is the great amplifier of who you are.
Mm.
And what I help clients with, I have worked with you. Let me answer your question first before I go off. I have not worked with a Tony Robbins level speaker yet, but I have worked with some of my own mentors who have audiences of thousands, who are working on their own TEDx talk or on just training their voice because they are speaking so often and so much,
Mm.
which was my original intention, to get to
Mm.
them before they're at the Tony Robbins level so that when they get there, they know how to use their instrument according to the laws of nature.
Mm. Okay. Oh boy, so many questions. But let's step backwards, like, because I remember that period with Tony Robbins and his vocal cords getting paper thin, and he was at this point he would have done anything, and he did a lot of things. What do people who don't know about the natural instrument? How are people messing things up for themselves without realizing it?
That's a great question. To put it simply, they are pushing the voice, using muscle rather than breath to support it, which causes strain
Mm.
because they want to be heard,
Mm.
which is also helped by the actual mechanism not working correctly, because the breath is the way to support the breath starts the muscle moving, and most speakers and singers are doing it the other way around. They're pushing or pulling on muscles in order to make the voice work,
Mm.
or to make it louder, or to be heard. Or they're not using enough voice. They're using more air than voice,
Mm.
which is the opposite problem. So the first problem is they're using more muscle than breath to support their voice. The second problem is they're using more breath than voice,
Mm.
which causes the vocal cords to swell.
Mm.
So if if I demonstrate to you, there's a uh, uh, in the voice when you're trying to project and you're using muscle rather than voice, specifically the rectus abdominis muscle, which is the muscle that is in the middle of the torso, which is used for childbearing and moving your bowels, to be blunt. Which is why a lot of bodybuilders or people who work with weights talk like this, because they've been going "Ugh," and pushing,
Mm.
and people without realizing it are using that muscle to and it's usually a problem with a misunderstanding of the natural laws of vocal production, or They speak very softly. This is mostly women. Do you
Hmm.
hear? It's mostly voice. It's mostly breath, not voice.
Hmm.
And that causes it's and what I know, because I always say the voice is a reflection of our life experience. They are both a reaction to a life experience where they didn't feel heard or
Hmm.
they felt it was dangerous to speak.
Okay. Well, thank you for going deep, 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 deep. Let's get down there. I love it. Um, Monique, many years ago when I first kind of woke up to spirit and started my own healing path, one of the first things I discovered was a modality called transformational breath. And I'm sure with your
Mm.
training, you've learned so much about breath from all kinds of perspectives. One of the things that amazed me in my training with that is that we could look at the way somebody was breathing and understand their psycho-spiritual emotional makeup, right? It was a lens into who they are, which is what I just got from you. The way people speak or don't speak, the muscles they're using or not using, is a reflection of their experience, right? The way they've encountered the world prior to that. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, Daniel. And I love that you said this because the breath is the key.
Hmm.
The breath is the key to supporting your voice. So when you have a session with Monique, the first thing we do is breathe
Hmm. I love it.
because we are using the breath to support the voice rather than muscles. Now, don't
Hmm.
misunderstand me, okay? Because this is what happens a lot.
Hmm.
There are people say things, and then and this happens in every topic. People say things in order to describe something, and then
Hmm.
people hear it and they say, "Oh, I've got it," and then they go off and do what they heard the person say without really understanding the whole picture, right? So the breath is the key. However, it's not that we don't use muscles,
Hmm.
it's that the muscles are moved by the breath rather than force. Exactly. Exactly. Which then causes the vocal cords, which are the consistency of your eyelid. They're so fine and so I always think of them as so tender.
Hmm.
Yet, when the breath is used correctly and the right muscles are called to hold the body and the spirit open
Hmm.
to make a big sound, to speak in a certain way that is supported from the inside out rather than the outside in, these two darling little vocal cords can literally vibrate the world.
Hmm. Okay. Powerful. Yeah, this distinction about breath, the way I heard it, and tell me if this still sounds accurate. Breath is the inciting incident. Breath is the cause, the first mover, and breath we know is life. It's life force
That
itself, right? So what I'm hearing you, and again, correct me if I'm missing something here, because I'm with you. It's easy for us lay people to sometimes think, "Oh, I understand. I heard a 5 minute soundbite. Yes, I got it now." Meanwhile, you've been studying this your whole life. But the way I'm hearing it is that spirit, which is another word for breath, life force, it starts things moving. It creates a call, which maybe is, I've got something to share. There's something for me to contribute here. And then after that incident, and maybe it's just a millisecond, then there's this whole framework of musculature and anatomy that supports that on a physical level. Am I on track?
that's absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. And when when I talk about the magnetics that are created when the presence, the voice, and the word are
Mm,
in alignment working together,
mm,
is always begun and ended with the breath. It
mm.
begins with an inhale and it ends at the end of an exhale, just like life. The first thing we do when we get here is inhale to go, "Wah!" And the last thing we do before we die is
Mm. Yeah, beautiful. So, as tempted as I am to go straight in deeper and more philosophical and spiritual, let's stay on a hyper practical level for a moment. What can people do, right? I mean, maybe somebody here is going to say, I want to work with Monique, and I know you've got a beautiful free gift, and we'll talk about that, and you've got an event coming up, and we'll tell people about that. So some people will be wise and able and say, I want to work with Monique, let's get going on this. For those that maybe aren't ready or aren't in the place for it, what can they do to bring a greater level of congruency here to the way they speak?
I'm so glad you asked that. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, like with all of my sessions, is we're going to breathe.
Mm,
Your breath is the bridge between your inner power and the world. So, first, you sit or stand comfortably in a way that when someone looks at you, they will know that you have something important to say.
mm,
I like to think of it as though there's a cord pulling me from my tailbone down to Mother Earth, and another one that starts at the crown of my head, pulling me up towards Father Sky, so that your vertebrae is lengthened. And immediately you begin to know yourself as that perfect center between heaven and earth. And then we release the belly and breathe into whatever was released. Most people do these two steps together. They know about belly breathing, but they don't release the muscle first and then inhale into what they've released. If you don't do that, you will be inhaling into a body that is tense because it's full of air.
mm,
When you release whatever has been in the body first by just letting go and allowing your belly muscles to fall, then inhale, then your body is ready to receive the inhale. And then you fill yourself from bottom to top. And then pause for a moment and know yourself as full of the life force, fully supported with everything you need from the inside out. And then gently watch the stomach fall back towards the spine as you exhale. And I invite my clients to pause at the end of the exhale and know themselves as empty. We don't usually like that very much. But the reason why that's important is because then when you release the belly again, it's dying to let go. And it'll probably drop into an even deeper place.
mm.
And then you inhale again. And then I usually start with a hum or an ah on the exhale, just to tone and remind yourself of the beauty and power of your own voice. And that brings you into presence and alignment. And then I like to start my day with an affirmation or an intention. after I've been doing my breathing. It's a form of meditation and a way of standing in your power and presence before you start your day.
Thank you. Yeah. It's amazing how normal it is to not know the difference between full and empty, or when we have reached one or the other. It always amazed me in the work I did with facilitating breath work for people, how it is the most fundamental, important skill of life. It is the skill of life. And yet most of us get so little training or mixed messages about it. So that was beautiful. Thank you.
You're so welcome. I love that you've been doing that work as well. And I know that you'll agree with me that some people are walking around never taking a full deep breath. One of my clients, who is just about to have her 80th birthday, told me she's never taken a deep breath. She lived quite a bit of trauma in her young life and just stopped breathing so she didn't have to feel it, as many of us do, and then just lived in her head for most of her life, as many of us do.
Yeah, absolutely.
In order to survive, right? In order to survive. Because nobody helped us breathe into whatever life is bringing us. You know, it's when a woman is bringing a child into the world, she's told to breathe in order to handle the pain. And most of us, when things happen, we go, and we stay there. And not ever even realize it. And that affects our voice. Or we have such drive and want to be sure that that never happens to us again. We push past our own limits in order to take action and do whatever it takes not to feel that again.
Yeah.
It's two sides of the same coin. It's the inhale and the exhale.
Yeah. Are we fleeing from life or fighting the feeling of it? I'm with you. And so, Monique, something that you just said reminded me of something you said earlier about two ways that people tend to be out of balance with speaking. One is just, I'll oversimplify, but not enough breath. And another is too much breath, right? And what I'm sensing is that perhaps part of what happens for people is that they don't trust that the breath will bring them forward, will carry them forward, or will carry their message out into the world. And so I'm curious if, am I on track with that? Is that part of what trips people up?
That's a great simplification, as you said, but for the most part, when you boil it down, that's exactly what goes on. What I find is, and that's why I always call it speaking according to the laws of nature, your body and breath and voice know how to do this. And so what I'm really doing is guiding you back to you. Because once we get past the trauma and the meanings that we made from what life gave us, which then created beliefs and ways of being, we know how to speak. We know how to speak according to the laws of nature. We know how to sing. Like, I know that everyone can sing, and I always talk about this. Not everybody's supposed to sing on the Metropolitan Opera stage, but everyone can sing and does sing. And what I always try to remind people is when a mother's singing to a baby, nobody cares how she sounds. It's the feeling that she's expressing through her voice that is important. And we forget sometimes because we're so worried about what are we going to say and what are people going to think about what we say. We're very worried about how we sound and if people will like the sound of our voice. That we forget that the very thing that we're worried about is what sets us apart from the rest and what makes each voice as unique as your thumbprint. No one has your voice. And so when you speak your truth and you have the courage to speak from your heart with your own voice, your message has to be received. Now, we don't have any control over what they do with the message once it's received. That's out of our hands. Just like after we've exhaled, we can't reach out and bring it back. It's the same thing.
Yeah. Life keeps moving. We do our part, right?
Right.
We speak what is entrusted to us to speak.
Yes.
So time is flying along. I've got 400 more questions, but I'm going to jump ahead to one of my favorite quotations, which I paraphrase, and then I'd love to get your take on it from your experience and expertise. And Emerson said, I paraphrase again, "Who you are speaks so loudly, nobody hears a word you say." Who you are speaks so loudly, nobody hears a word you say. Does that have any relationship with the work you do?
It absolutely does. It's reminding me of a Rumi quote.
Okay.
Which goes something like, "There's a voice with no words that's always speaking. Listen." Words are important, but they're just words without you. I believe we have to have the trifecta of words with you or presence, your presence, the divine presence that expresses as you, expressing through your voice, which is unique to you. Our minds have taken over, Daniel, and they're not supposed to be running the show. Our body and our breath and our voice are the ones that are supposed to be running the show. The mind is there to back us up, to count things, keep track of things, be as brilliant as it is, but it is the servant to the presence within. So I absolutely wholeheartedly agree with Mr. Emerson. And so often in our attempts to be heard, because so many of us weren't, we have done all kinds of brilliant things with our minds to build up this story of who we are. And many of us walking around in quiet desperation, never feeling heard because we haven't dared to speak our truth, to reveal who we truly are, especially if we're in public. And one of the things that I realized after working with people on this is it goes very deep. It's in our DNA. So I hope anyone who's within the sound of my voice right now takes comfort in this. When, millions of years ago, when we were hanging out with the dinosaurs, no, when we were people living in tribes, in caves, the most dangerous place to be was away from the herd. And when we're standing in front of one or many speaking our truth, we're standing apart. And we feel it. And a need to cover shows up, to hide. And what I try to help my clients with is to feel a safety within that they have with them always, no matter what happened in the past, which is past, and no matter what will happen in the future, which hasn't happened yet. You're you now. And that's who we want to see, and that's who we want to hear.
Beautiful. Hallelujah. Thank you.
Thank you. My goodness, such beautiful questions.
Oh, well, I got so many more. We're going to move things along, though. Monique, you kindly have a gift for our audience. Is that right?
That's right.
Will you say what it is?
I sure will. It's called an inner voice healing session. And when you join me for a healing voice call, we're just going to take a minute and breathe. And we're going to bring you back to that nurturing, sacred space within you and help you align with the true essence of who you are so that you can step into your fullest, most radiant self. And it's a journey that we're going to take together to reclaim your voice, heal wounds that may be in your way, and I'm going to remind you how limitless you are.
Wow. Thank you. That's a phenomenal gift. I'm going to put a link in the comments here. And amazingly, you've invited anyone in the audience to schedule time with you for that. Is that right?
That's right.
Oh, boy. Okay, cool. Awesome. And tell us then just a quick bit about the event you've got coming up in March. What's happening there?
Oh, Daniel, I'm so excited about this. This is my live event, my first ever live event of my own called Crescendo. Take your speaking to new heights live in New York City. I'm going to be taking 20 to 30 speakers through a transformative 3-day event designed to help you unleash your natural voice, message, and power so that you become an impactful and dynamic world-class speaker. I'm going to put you on a stage and I'm going to pour in a stage live in New York City. Can you believe it? And I'm going to pour into you everything I know about being on a stage and delivering your message. And we're going to work together. I've also invited a videographer so that you'll have some live footage. So we're going to work together, and then you're going to step on a stage and implement it right there and then. And we're going to capture it so that you'll have a speaker reel and or raw footage of you being the best speaker you can be.
I love it. Not only live, but in person. Not only live and in person, but live in person in New York City. where it happens with Monique McDonald. That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you,
All right.
Daniel. This has been so much fun. Thank you so much for your heartfelt questions and your own soul's journey, and for all the ways you're changing lives with the Art of Vibrant Living show.
Well, thank you. What a beautiful statement. I appreciate that. I take it in. You are welcome. It's awesome to be with you. I look forward to more. There's so many other questions around technique and how you work and what you've created yourself into that I would love to explore another time. So hopefully we will rejoin in this way another time.
I would love that.
And what's the best way for people to get in touch with you, Monique?
The best way to get in touch with me is my website, themagneticvoice.com, or you can reach me by email at monique@themagneticvoice.com. And come to the event if you can. Reach out to me, email me. The dates are March 27 through 29, 2026. And I'm so excited about this event. And it's the first, so I'm sure there will be others, but you want to be there for the first one.
First one's special. Yeah, awesome. All right, cool. Well, Monique, thank you so much for being with us. And for y'all in the audience, thank you. Your desire to have a more vibrant, thriving life is awesome. The fact that you're here and you're getting information, you're getting inspired, and doing something about it. Schedule some time with Monique. Learn to use your breath, your voice. It's powerful as you are powerful. Thank you so much for being with us. I love you. See you later. Aloha.